back at Lucas Oil Stadium for the final game of the regular season. The two head coaches, 47-year-old Gus Bradley finishing up his first year as head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, turning things around after that 0-8 start. Has to be one of the most positive guys around. It will certainly be an interesting offseason for Gus and his staff as they continue to try and rebuild down in Jacksonville. Chuck Pagano over the Colts sideline. So many injuries to key playmakers, but still has found ways to win. Colts coming off that big victory last week against Kansas City, trying to go into the postseason on a 3-game winning streak. Jacksonville won the toss. They chose to receive. McAfee kicks it away, and here we go. Todman takes a knee. He'll bring it out to the 20. Chad Henne has now started 13 of 16 games this season, including the last 11. He comes in 90 yards away from a 3,000-yard season. He'll be the first Jacksonville quarterback to reach that mark since David Garrard in 2009, 24-34 last week against Tennessee for 237 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. What direction the Jaguars should take at quarterback will be one of those major offseason topics in Jacksonville. 1st and 10 from the 20. Henne, the slant, and that is caught by Kerry Taylor, and a first down. A gain of 15 yards. Up front, Brad Meester, after 14 years, making start number 209, playing in the final game of his NFL career. He'll retire, having played for every head coach in Jacksonville history. Backs and receivers, thin at wide receiver, so Jacksonville has counted on Mercedes Lewis, the former Pro Bowl tight end, who has had a good month of December, catching touchdown passes in 4 straight games. From the 35, Maurice Jones-Drew. A yard over the right side. Mathis made the stop. Here's the Colts defensively. Ricardo Matthews starts today up front for Corey Redding, who is out with a shoulder injury, hoping he'll be ready to go for the playoffs. At linebacker, you just saw him make the tackle. The great Robert Mathis, having one of the best seasons of his career, named to a 6th consecutive Pro Bowl this week. Antoine Bethea in the secondary, starting his 96th consecutive game today. On 2nd down, Jones-Drew with some running room over the right side. Loose ball. And the Colts seem to have it. They do.
Now there's a chance that he may have had his elbow on the ground when that ball came out, and this will be reviewed automatically. It did seem to come out right away, but on the replay, his elbow may have been on the ground before the ball popped out.
Darius Butler came away with the football. Take another look. Elbow was down, and they may overturn
his
this.
left elbow, and all it takes is a form right there, and it's hard to see whether the ball was out already when his elbow came down. It's very close. But this will be reviewed to see if indeed, now if the, you can't see that the ball is out. Now it has to be enough to reverse this. They called it a turnover, so that's really the key in this situation.
It was Jarrell Freeman, the AFC Defensive Player of the Week last week, who stripped it away.
Now they were looking at it upstairs, and they decided that it's too close. They'll have the official come over and take a look at it.
So timeout on the field, just underway here in Indianapolis. Still waiting the outcome from the review. Maurice Jones-Drew, coming into today, had gone 29 straight games without losing a fumble.
I don't think we've seen enough to overturn this.
There's a fumble.
And the ruling on the field stands. It wasn't confirmed.
Pete Morelli, a referee today. So an early turnover for the Indianapolis Colts. Colts trying to win 4 of their last 5 and go into the postseason on a 3-game winning streak. They've gotten hot here at the end of the regular season. They'll go from the Jacksonville 42. The delay to Brown. Gets it just inside the 35. Andrew Luck in only his 2nd year, but another remarkable season for this young man from Stanford. Completed just under 60% of his passes for over 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. Colts going with the hurry-up offense. Luck with time, going deep, Fleener! And the ball pops out. Otherwise, he would have had it down inside the 5.
Oh, he had exactly what he wanted. Fleener going down the middle, but Cyprien, the rookie safety, comes over and plays it perfectly. Gets there just after the football does, knocks the arms away from it. Fleener can't come down with it. And what looked to be a big play early on is well defended by Jacksonville. Cyprien played it exactly right.
Cyprien, one of those guys who should be a cornerstone for Gus Bradley and the Jacksonville Jaguars going forward. The rookie, the 33rd pick overall out of Florida International. Trent Richardson has checked in, and the Jaguars jump off sides. Looks like Jason Babin was in there early.
Defense, neutral zone infraction, number 58. 5-yard penalty, and the result of the penalty is a first down.
Colts up front. They have had 7 different starting combinations on the offensive line, but the 2 big tackles have been there every week. And the backs and receivers, Donald Brown has emerged as a key. 2 big touchdowns last week in the win over Kansas City. In that up-tempo offense for Indianapolis. Luck making a change. Good protection. It's underneath to T.Y. Hilton. Good second effort, and that is going to be another Indianapolis first down.
And that's going to be the record as well that we spoke about in the pregame. Andrew Luck passing for more yards in his first 2 seasons as an NFL quarterback than anybody else in history. And that means anybody.
Came in needing 7 yards to pass Cam Newton. That was good for 11. So 1st and 10 for Indianapolis after the Jacksonville turnover from the Jaguars. 19.
Again,
the delay to Brown. Wrapped up at about the 16-yard line by Cyprien. And take a look. He joined some pretty good company with Cam Newton there, but also Peyton Manning. Did so much great work in this building. And Dan Marino.
Our own Dan Marino, we have to say here at CBS.
And he accomplished that.
That was a different game when he did it, wasn't it?
Rules were far different. And what he did was absolutely remarkable. Still, 2nd and 7. Luck to the end zone. Griff Whalen could not come down with it. Allen Ball closed quickly.
Right there. And they leave and they go off and they double team and they kind of disguise the coverage. Great job by Ball coming off the outside receiver, coming in to get his hand on it. You see there, this secondary for Jacksonville has really made huge improvements, mostly when they got the same guys playing week to week.
So 3rd and 7, they have to get just inside the 10 for a first down. Luck fires right at the marker, T.Y. Hilton. Driven back, but his forward progress will be good for a first down. It'll be 1st and goal.
And what a contribution T.Y. Hilton has made in the absence of Reggie Wayne. He continues to impress his opponents and his teammates alike. I mean, what a surprise he has been, and what a competitor he's turned out to be. So reliable as a young receiver, and Andrew Luck, it doesn't take long for that chemistry to build.
T.Y. Hilton came in 72 yards away from a 1,000-yard season. And again, so quiet in this building when the Colts have the football. 1st and goal. Luck. Slant to Hilton. Up into just short of the goal line. Will Blackman tripped him up, made the stop.
Well, we always talk about the atmosphere in which these teams play and how difficult it is to go on the road. People are always astounded when they come into this building and watch this offense work, how quiet it is.
Back in a hurry, Brown leaps the pile. Touchdown.
And now it's not so quiet. It all started with the turnover by Maurice Jones-Drew. We'll watch right down the line. All the ball has to do is, we all know, just touch that line, and I don't think there's any question. Even the ball at his waist reached far enough into the end zone for that to be a touchdown. The front edge of that white line, and that's one of the places I think where the hurry-up, quick huddle, no huddle offense really helps getting the defense on its heels. You get them down close, you run up to the line, and sometimes they don't even get a snap. They just have to be instinctive, and certainly in that place that Jacksonville gets taken advantage of by the Colts.
Touchdowns reviewed, so they're taking a look upstairs and now blow the whistle. Vinatieri on to try the extra point. Right through the middle, 10:45 left to go in the first. Indianapolis able to take advantage of the Jacksonville turnover. They draw first blood, 7-0. Donald Brown with the 1-yard touchdown run. Puts the Colts on the board first, 7-0. 3 completions, all of them to T.Y. Hilton. McAfee boots it. Todler will bring it out. And hit hard at about the 20. Maurice Jones-Drew had not lost a fumble in more than 2 years. The last time, October 24th, 2011 against the Ravens. We mentioned 29 straight games without losing a fumble until today, and the Colts able to capitalize, taking it down for a touchdown. 3-time Pro Bowler, led the league in rushing 2 years ago, but with just one 100-yard game this season. 4 receivers set. Along with the tight end, Henne on the slant, incomplete. Intended for Todman. Knocked away by Jarrell Freeman. Freeman has been such an explosive player for the Indianapolis Colts. He was small coming out of high school, didn't get any big-time offers, ended up going to Mary Hardin Baylor in Division III in his hometown of Waco on a partial academic scholarship. Ended up making a name for himself in Canada with Saskatchewan. Signed with the Colts back in January of last year. 2nd and 10. Batted away.
Yeah, that was Jarrell Freeman as well. I mean, he came in off the slot receiver. Chad Henne thought he was going to drop into coverage, and he came right off of Mercedes Lewis. Instead of covering him, he came off on the blitz. Good disguise by the Colts. Henne tried to get rid of it before the contact came, but Freeman got his hands up and knocked it down. And that's when you catch your opponent off guard. They did not have the protection to protect Henne, and it turned it into a batted pass.
Jacksonville has not been good on 3rd down. They've gotten better on offense, but still way down in the league statistically. Henne on 3rd and 10. Sacked! Guess who? 18 and a half sacks on the season for Robert Mathis.
Well, this is the kind of defensive performance in these last couple of plays, and certainly this series, that the Colts have put together in the last month. You're going to see Mathis just come out with a complete speed rush and gets right around Pastor for the sack. And this just happened so fast. Just as Henne steps up in the pocket to release it, Mathis is right in his lap.
Mathis had 3 sacks when these teams met in week 4. Anger. Whalen makes one-man miss and finally swarmed under just short of midfield. A 46-yard punt and a 5-yard return. Robert Mathis making his presence felt early. Leroy Reynolds, and watch Reynolds on special teams right here, losing his helmet, but that doesn't matter.
You know, I covered kicks for a long time in the NFL. I never did that. Made the, you know, I'd like to give him a compliment, but the biggest one I can give him is he's crazy. I mean, wow. You got to tip your hat. That picks up a team. When you watch that, that's a guy who wants to win no matter what, and with an emphasis on no matter what.
And got the start today at outside linebacker. So, again, good field position for the Colts. Underneath to T.Y. Hilton, right at midfield.
Tackled by Reynolds with his helmet on that time.
So I don't need that.
I'm telling you, man, that's because you really, after playing for all the years these guys play, to get to this level with your helmet on, then to go down the field without it on, it is, you feel completely vulnerable. Man, that guy is courageous.
Rookie out of Virginia. Game that folks here in Indianapolis will be watching. Field goal gives the Ravens the early lead against the Bengals. Luck. And that was caught by Fleener, who did a good job bringing it in. Almost lost the handle, a gain of 25 yards.
Yeah, Alan Ball almost got a piece of it, and this time Fleener does get it. The first series, they knocked it away. This time they come back to the left. Great throw by Luck, and you can see Alan Ball thought he was going to pick that off, and Fleener plucked it.
Up quickly from the 24. And that is caught at the 5 by Wesley Saunders, the tight end.
Well, the Colts see something inside. They're going to the tight ends up the seams, inside the numbers. You see there, Saunders just gets it right on the inside edge of the numbers. Luck throws him to the open area, and now they go no huddle, hurry up.
Spotted at the 6, first and goal. Luck motors and then throws it away over the head of T.Y. Hilton. Hilton well covered there by Blackman.
Yeah, that's the thing that this offense does. I mean, with Andrew Luck back there, he's a real threat to run the football. But in general, this no-huddle offense with a good quarterback, and they hurry it up, it never gives the defense a chance to get settled, and it allows a good quarterback like Luck to pick his matchups. He can adjust the offense, motion, shift, and put a receiver of his choice in the spot where he wants it, and he can do it really fast.
Bunch set at the top of your screen. Swing it out to T.Y. Hilton. Down inside the 5 and brought down at the 2 by Cyprien. Cyprien has already been very active for Jacksonville.
Yeah, and this is, we said earlier how much Gus Bradley and the defensive staff of this Jacksonville team likes Cyprien. It's not just them. There are other teams, and we've covered Jacksonville throughout the season. A lot of other people are noticing how good this guy has a chance to be, and Gus Bradley's happy as him. You're right. Cyprien's going to be a building block for this defense.
And Cyprien and T.Y. Hilton were teammates at Florida International. Third and goal for the Colts. Trent Richardson has checked in. He's the lone back.
Florida International must have had some guys.
They could move.
Yeah, you saw the exchange between them as they tackled. As Cyprien tackled him at the corner, they both had a little something to say to each other.
Andrew Luck saw something he didn't like, so takes a timeout on 3rd and goal. Well, fantasy football fans, keep the excitement going all postseason long with Playoff Challenge. Now with bigger cash prizes. See rules and sign up at cbssports.com/challenge.
Well, so much has been said about Andrew Luck and the way he manages this Colt offense. There you see Pep Hamilton. Andrew Luck told us he's got a great relationship, loves the way Pep Hamilton calls the game, mixes it up really well, unpredictable, and yet still gets matchups that are great for their team. He loves the relationship he has with Pep.
High formation, Richardson the deep back. Fade route to Fleener, incomplete, just out of his reach. Chris Brzezinski had pretty good coverage.
Yeah, this takes, and everybody knows it, but it takes a perfect throw and a great catch on these and great timing. It's difficult to execute this play. You see it, and everybody makes it look easy. It's not easy. And Brzezinski does a pretty good job of making Fleener adjust his route.
No field goal unit. They're going to go for it on 4th and goal. Richardson. Touchdown!
Now that's the kind of back Trent Richardson is. That's why they traded for him during the season. They needed a big, hard-nosed, tough running back inside the tackles to complement Donald Brown, and that's exactly the way it worked out. It's the perfect situation to put him in. There's nothing real complicated about it. It's just well blocked up front. It's going so wide that Puslesny can't get there all the way from the inside and have a good enough angle to stop Richardson's momentum. Richardson just shrugs him off and walks in.
Extra point is good halfway through the opening quarter, and the Colts are out quickly to a 14-0 lead on the 2-yard touchdown run by Trent Richardson. Back in Indianapolis, 7 plays on the drive, 54 yards, culminates in the touchdown run by Trent Richardson. His first since week 4, also against Jacksonville. Todman takes the knee, they'll bring it out to the 20. Well, thought your fantasy season was over. It's not. Play NFL Playoff Challenge. 8 players, 4 rounds. To learn more and sign up, go to NFL.com/fantasy. Colts have struggled in the first quarter this year. Coming in, they had been outscored 102-53, but not so today. And most points they've scored in the first quarter since November of last season. 1st and 10, Maurice Jones-Drew. Puts it back inside, picks up 3.
You talk about all the things the Colts are trying to do to get their ducks in a row for the playoffs. Getting off to a faster start is one of them. You saw there, it's been a long time since they've scored 14 points in the first quarter, and they get into a lot of one-possession games late, and Andrew Luck pulls them out of the fire a lot, but that's also due to slow starts.
Jones-Drew with a nice hole up the middle. He's about a yard short of a first down. Freeman at the stop. 26 regular season meeting between these two teams. Jacksonville has won 3 of the last 5, but the Colts lead the overall series 17-8. They picked up a blowout win in week 4, 37-3 in Jacksonville. On 3rd down, tried to muscle inside and may not have gotten it.
They're marking him short of the line. He has to get right to the 30. And they're not going to get it.
And he unable to get the first down on the quarterback sneak, so we'll see the punting unit.
And the Colts did an outstanding job. Anticipating that. Offensive line couldn't get off the ball.
Whalen is back deep. He's stepped in to return punts for the first time and done a nice job with a 14-yard average coming in. Good high punt. Makes the fair catch at the 22-yard line. 5:49 left to go in the first. A 49-yard punt. 15 plays for the Colts so far on offense has resulted in 2 touchdowns. All in 5.5 minutes. Their own 22. Play action, Luck. Makes one man miss. Going deep. T.Y. Hilton, who was well covered there by Will Blackman. Andrew just threw it up.
Well, T.Y. Hilton had stopped running because he looked back and thought Andrew Luck got sacked. And you see coming off the edge, Branch, and also up the middle, the entire defense trying to get to Luck, forcing him to scramble around in the pocket. T.Y. Hilton gave up on that route and then tried to burst it, and it turned into a defensive back right there.
So after the incomplete pass, 2nd and 10. Chandler showing blitz. Out into the flat. That's Whalen. And he's got a Colts first down, pushed out of bounds by Reynolds. Griff Whalen, one of those guys who's really emerged here in the latter stages of the regular season. A guy who has waived twice this season, spent time on the practice squad. Now he's worked himself into a starting role. Played with Andrew Luck, of course, at Stanford, as this is going to be just short of a first down. 11 catches for 125 yards, 8 of those for first downs. So 3rd and 1 for Indianapolis. Richardson's the deep back. They give it to him. And fights his way forward. And that will be good enough for a first down.
And sometimes those are the differences. We saw the Jacksonville Jaguars not being able to pick it up on 3rd and a foot. The Colts handing it to Trent Richardson, converting on their 3rd and very short. You see the coming 2nd and very short coming in right there, and you just see the guys pulling around trying to get in. All you need is to get a little movement. The Colts choose to pull offensive linemen, come around the corner as Thornton tries to get in there. Richardson fits it up in. Those little things like that, those conversions are what make the difference between wins and losses.
So 1st and 10 from the Colts 33. Luck checks it down to Richardson. And he has another Indianapolis 1st down. Brought down by Paul Posluszny. That was good for 11 yards.
And Trent Richardson getting a chance to show his pass receiving skills, just turns around and makes himself available. But him and Donald Brown are really the guys that are going to carry this offense in the running game and a little bit of Andrew Luck's safety valves in the passing game. And these two guys are going to make the big difference as the playoffs begin.
Bengals on the board. They lead at 7-6. T.Y. Hilton with the catch. And what a perfect pass from Andrew Luck.
Well, Mike Harris has got the underneath coverage, and you can see what a perfect pass that is. And I'm surprised coming down Jacksonville's sidelines that his sideline didn't give him a ball call. I don't think he heard or knew that the ball was coming down. T.Y. Hilton, outstanding. He doesn't reach for the football until it's right there. He doesn't give Harris any tip that the ball is coming, and it slips right in behind the defender.
37 yards on the play, and the Colts are right back in business to the end zone. Just short of it, and incomplete. Griff Whalen was the intended receiver.
Andrew Luck manages this offense so well, and you get a big play like that, and once again the Colts just run to the line up and snap it right away. Really no time for the defense to take a deep breath. As you see here, they kind of muddle up at the line of scrimmage and don't even group up as that ball goes sailing over the top. Tried to fit it in over the top of Posluszny and couldn't get it down.
From the Jacksonville 19.
52. Ready!
Richardson. Some nice little moves and has it down to the 10-yard line.
Now, this is going to be just shy of the 1st down. Will bring up a 3rd and about a foot. But once again, Pep Hamilton going hurry-up offense keeps the defense off balance. Quarterback sneak.
That's getting a little more than you might expect. He is a very good runner. Came in with 370 yards on 61 carries.
Well, most quarterbacks in the league are big enough to do it. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, so you know he can kind of drop his weight and push forward a little bit. But the key was he got stopped initially and just slid to the side and found an opening.
Already 11 1st downs for the Colts. Just 1 for Jacksonville. 1st and goal. Richardson trying to find some running room. Fights his way just inside the 5. Posluszny finally wrestled him down.
Once again, the Colts drive down, find themselves inside the 5-yard line on Jacksonville. At the beginning of this drive, they had 2 drives that equaled 15 plays. Only one of them was in the Colts end of the field after the first punt. And finally, this one, the Jaguars managed to flip the field, put them down inside their 30. And once again, Andrew Luck brings them right back down to the red zone.
19th play already in Jacksonville territory. Richardson in the backfield with Luck. 2nd and goal. And that almost intercepted. Tried to thread it in there to T.Y. Hilton. And Leroy Reynolds almost came away with it.
Yeah, Posluszny and Reynolds are going to whack into each other. You see there, they both think they've got a piece of it. Reynolds, it looked like he was going to try and pull it in, and Posluszny gets his hand in there as well. Luck tries to squeeze it in. He put some pepper on that one, but it just isn't fast enough.
Colts have done a great job taking care of the football with just 3 turnovers in their last 6 games. They lead the league with only 14 turnovers all season. 3rd and goal from the 4. Play action. Luck takes off. Under pressure. Throws it away. Being chased by Posluszny and had to get rid of it.
Yeah, Posluszny's got a lot of range. Luck thought he might be able to get to the sideline and buy himself a little more time or turn the corner, and Posluszny's just so fast, he wouldn't allow it to happen. This was supposed to be a play action to Richardson out to the right. Luck comes back to his outlet, and they're all covered, and Puslesny closes the ground so fast. Luck can't do anything, can't improvise a play or anything like that, and it turns into a field goal attempt.
We'll bring out Adam Vinatieri, who missed a 37-yarder last week, but then came back and made 3 more, 2 of those from 40+. This one from 23 yards out. And the Colts settle for 3, but with 1:22 left to go in the first, they lead it 17-0. And we're back. McAfee ready to kick it away. Let's take a look at this week's edition of Task Force.
Well, talking about the playoffs, you try and think of teams that really could go all the way that maybe people aren't on people's minds. The sleeper team, Cincinnati Bengals are one for me, and the Carolina Panthers over in the NFC. Their defense is outstanding, and Cam Newton, with his ability to make plays anywhere on the field, gives them a chance to catch perhaps lightning in a bottle. But don't count these guys out with the horseshoe on their helmets. They're getting right at the hot right at the right time, and they're going to have some momentum going into the playoffs.
And that sails out of bounds.
Ball be placed on the 40-yard line.
Not his best effort.
First down, Jacksonville.
So the Jaguars will start with pretty decent field position. Your favorite superstar performers honor Shirley MacLaine, Carlos Santana, Herbie Hancock, Martina Arroyo, and Billy Joel. The Kennedy Center honors tonight after 60 minutes. Only CBS. Jacksonville starts 1st and 10 from their own 40. Formation. Maurice Jones-Drew's the deep back. They give it to him up the middle. Powers his way for about 4. Jarrell Freeman made the stop. Colts have had a roller coaster type season. They had a nice start, then a 6-game stretch where they had trouble getting out of the gate. Outscored in the first half, won 14-24, and allowed 38 points or more 3 times. Now they've been able to generate turnovers, get off the field on 3rd down. They forced 6 turnovers and gave up just 1 touchdown in their last 2 games. So Steve said, getting hot at the right time. 2nd and 6. 17-0 Indianapolis. Henny to the sideline. It's Clay Harbor, the tight end. And he's got a first down for Jacksonville. Darius Butler made the stop after a gain of 8.
Yeah, that guy there, Gus Bradley, he knew what he was getting into when he took this Jacksonville job. Knew he was going to have to churn the roster, and they did that. You see, they had to find out about Blaine Gabbert, and I think they know the answer to Blaine Gabbert. He's not expected to return to Jacksonville next year. Chad Henne, on the other hand, I think will be a Jacksonville Jaguar next year. He has played consistently enough to give them an opportunity to maybe to bring in a young quarterback and groom him.
Nice play of the first quarter. And an incomplete pass intended for Mercedes Lewis. Kelvin Shepard knocked it away as we've reached the end of the first quarter. 17-0 Indianapolis. It's not often a team runs 20 plays in their opponent's territory in the first quarter, but the Colts have done so today. Only 12 plays in the entire game for Jacksonville. Jones-Drew. Tough running down to the 45-yard line. The Colts right now without their fine cornerback, Vontae Davis, who has a groin injury. His return, we're told, is questionable. 3rd and 7 for Jacksonville. It's been all Indianapolis so far, 17-0. Henny from the gun. Steps up, fires, that's complete to Maurice Jones-Drew, who's got a first down and tough to bring down.
Well, this ends in a typical Maurice Jones-Drew fashion. He breaks a tackle and then goes back and runs over the guy who tried to tackle him. As McNary's trying to bring him down on the catch, ends up getting run over after he misses the tackle, so it's double jeopardy.
Jacksonville going up tempo. Out into the flat. Kerry Taylor. A yard shy of another first down. Josh McNary made the stop. He's the rookie out of Army, who set career records for sacks and tackles for losses at West Point. Finished his 2-year military commitment down in Texas at Fort Hood. Kept himself in shape, signed with the Colts, was waived, re-signed on the practice squad, brought up last month, and he's worked himself up to playing about 60% of the time on defense. Hodman brought down hard at about the 21, and that's going to be a first down. Kelvin Shepard made the stop.
Nice drive being put together by Chad Henne, and I mentioned that how consistently he's played. Now, certainly he has not been spectacular, but he has been, and when you talk about the problems that Gus Bradley and this organization face with their roster and who they're going to draft and stuff, I don't think quarterback all of a sudden is such a glaring need, particularly given their other issues on their roster.
Ace Sanders, the rookie, in the backfield, and that is batted away. He was trying to hit Sanders, and incomplete. Bjorn Werner, first-round draft pick out of Florida State, the 27th overall pick last April, got a hand on it. Let's take a look at the holiday wish list for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, Jacksonville's got to get a quarterback. They also need to draft a wide receiver, a big #1 receiver. They need a pass rusher. And then, of course, I'll tell you what, Gus Bradley has done an outstanding job with this roster. You'd love to see him and what he could do with a better one.
Driven back by LaRon Landry.
As we talked about early on, Jones-Drew and what he's meant to this franchise, he is also, over the course of his long career in Jacksonville, he has averaged over 100 yards rushing against the Colts every time he's played them. He has really been outstanding against this division winner this year, the Colt team, over the course of his career.
3rd and 8. Henne throws a strike, but batted away just behind Ace Sanders, and Darius Butler got a hand on it.
Yeah, Henne tried to throw it in. Butler jumped the route and tried to get underneath it to intercept it. Stayed inside, and Henne tried to throw it out where Sanders could maybe make a play on it behind him, but Butler did a nice job getting his hand on it.
Scobie comes out. He's had an outstanding year in limited attempts, 22 of 24 coming in. He has made 44 straight from inside of 40 yards. Had an extra point blocked last week, but that was really because no one got in front of Bernard Pollard, and he was able to block the extra point. Just inside the right upright, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the board with 11:55 left to go in the first half. 17-3. 17-3 Colts after the Josh Scobie field goal. Colts, of course, picked up a dominating victory on the road last week. They beat Kansas City at Arrowhead for their 11th 10-win season in the last 12 years. A win today would give them 11 wins in a season for the 9th time in the last 11 years. A tradition of outstanding play here in Indianapolis. On Brazil, back deep. And he's going to bring this out from 9 yards deep. And pays the price, brought down hard at about the 12. Nate Stupar made the stop. Andrew Luck so far today, 10 of 18 for 135 yards.
That no huddle and the quick pace of that offense has really been a key for this Colt team, and you got to think too, they're starting to get their offense and their razors sharpened to try and do some damage in the playoffs.
Half of those passes have been targeted to T.Y. Hilton. Hilton already with 6 catches for 72 yards. 1st and 10. Again, T.Y. Hilton from the screen. Down at the 14-yard line by Reynolds. Reynolds, the rookie out of Virginia. We saw him on special teams where he has excelled this year. Got to start today at outside linebacker.
There's a couple of situations like that. Reynolds is certainly one, obvious, and also Demetrius McCray will probably get some playing time on defense, to trying to find out which young guys have made some strides and can really be counted on for next year's roster. And they're getting a chance to do that today against the Colts.
Donald Brown in the backfield. On 2nd and 7 with Luck. And they give it to him. Stacked up at the line of scrimmage, wrestled down by Puzzlesny.
Well, Puzzlesny sniffed that out from the very beginning. He saw something in their formation that told him what type of play it was going to be. He ran right towards the running back, right at the point of attack, right where the ball was going to be as soon as the ball was snapped. His teammates love the guy. He's played well for them, been available. Opponents have a great deal of respect for him. He's one of those guys every team would love to have.
3rd and 6 for Luck. Fires it to Hilton. And that is going to be an Indianapolis first down. Harris made the stop, a gain of 9.
T.Y. Hilton just going out running a button hook. Just past the yard marker, just past the first down marker out to the 25-yard line and makes it look easy.
Richardson trying to get to the edge. Picks up a couple.
You know, most teams with a quarterback of the quality or the reputation even of Andrew Luck, they tend to ask them to do a little bit too much. Certainly, the Broncos were guilty of that, and so were this Colts team when Peyton Manning was here. But with Luck, and Pagano as head coach, they've really made a concerted effort to stay balanced. A lot of teams let themselves get pass heavy, but the Colts have not.
Coming on the blitz. Fires out near the marker to Whalen, who makes the catch. And that will be another first down. And once again, let's check in New York for an update on this Week 17.
Steelers doing their part.
Yes, JB, 5-yard TD run by Le'Veon Bell. Barrels his way into the end zone, 14-0. Steelers over the Browns.
A Steelers win and a lot of help, and they can make it back. Spiro, make that Bill and Steve.
Thanks, guys. The Steelers need a win, and losses by Baltimore, Miami, and San Diego sneak into the postseason. From the 36-yard line, 1st and 10. Colts have been unstoppable today. Brown, who is a very good receiver. Donald Brown came in, averaging 5.5 yards a carry, perhaps reminding some older Colts fans of the great Hall of Famer Lenny Moore, who averaged 5 yards or more a carry 4 times in his career, including, Steve, 3 times at 7 yards or more. Brown has really stepped up and been a factor for Indianapolis here in the second half of the season.
Lenny Moore?
2nd and 8. Lenny Moore, the great Lenny Moore. Checks it underneath to Brown. Out across the 45 to the 47, because Leslie brought him down, a gain of 9. And another Indianapolis first down.
Well, this Colt team is so versatile and so consistent in all phases. They run the ball very well, but they do this as well as anybody. They catch and run. And they also have everybody on their offense who can handle the football is also a great receiver. And you couple that with how good a runner Brown and Richardson are, and that turns into a pretty potent offense.
14 first downs for the Colts. Delay, Brown. A yard shy of midfield.
And now they're huddling up a little bit, they're not really hurrying like they did in their first 2 series. They get deeper into the play menu and they start to slow it down a little bit with Pep Hamilton there.
2nd and 8. Luck. Tried to improvise a little bit and do it behind Saunders, who was near the marker.
Well, the reason that Luck looked hesitant was Branch. You see number 90 dropping back into coverage. He didn't expect the big defensive end to be anywhere but in his face. And you see there Saunders finds out that Branch is out there. Branch, a pass rusher, most downs. When they drop him out, it confuses the offense, and that's what made Andrew Luck look just a little bit hesitant about what his read was.
Branch, the second-round pick out of Clemson last year. He's come on in recent weeks. He's given Jacksonville another force to deal with coming off the edge. Came in with 6 sacks. Here's Luck. Running for his life and finally hit out of bounds. That does not draw a flag. And it was J.T. Thomas who ended the play.
Luck didn't go down. I mean, he was still in bounds and he kind of accepted the hit, but you see there's Babin goes out, kind of stumbles. Looked like he got tangled up with Sherilis. But you see there, Luck is still in bounds when he receives the hit, and that's a clean hit.
Sanders back deep. 3 punt returns for touchdowns back in South Carolina.
That hit hurt Pagano worse than it hurt Luck.
Not want to lose that guy. End over end punt goes out of bounds inside the 10. 6:14 left to go in the half. 17-3 Colts. After the first Indianapolis Colts punt of the game, the Jaguars take over at their own 9-yard line. Trailing 17-3. Just over 6 minutes remaining in the half. Over to the left side after faking to the right. Clay Harbor makes the catch, and he is slow getting up. Let's take a look at some other scores. Impact the playoff picture. Cincinnati 7-6 over the Ravens. Miami on top of the Jets. They have to win. And Pittsburgh has to have a lot of good things happen for them to get to the postseason. Harbor remains down, so timeout on the field here in Indy. And coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights from this final week of the regular season. That is all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Harbor helped off the field, being tended to over on the Jacksonville bench. 4th year out of Missouri State. Jacksonville facing a 2nd and 7. It's come on the blitz. And that is caught by Mike Brown, who makes a nice little move and has a first down for Jacksonville out close to the 23. A gain of 10. Josh Chapman made the stop.
Yeah, we talked about gaining momentum coming into this postseason. The Colts defense has been one of the things that's been much different than it was in the first part of the season. This last month, they have been very difficult to score on, and they've been forcing a lot of turnovers. It's made a huge difference for this club.
Short drop from Henny. And a miscommunication. Suspect with Kerry Taylor, who looked like the only receiver in the vicinity. Colts are asking for intentional grounding.
I don't know that you give him intentional grounding for that when the guy either ran the wrong route or... Yeah, they did. I don't agree with that. I mean, he thinks there's going to be a guy there. One of these guys is going to break to this, and he thinks that neither one of them does. And he releases that ball on time in the pocket to an open area. He gets way down the football field. He certainly could have chosen another receiver. He wasn't under duress or that much duress. Certainly the hit was coming.
Gus Bradley.
And I agree with Gus. Pleased. I disagree with the call totally. And I see that, the way the officials are forced to interpret the rules, they feel like they have to make that call. But I think that's the wrong place for that call.
So with the loss of down, 2nd and 20, Pennies, they try to set up the screen, and he throws it into the turf.
And you see, now that, if you want to get, that should have been intentional grounding. He had no intention of doing that. And yet, the way the league is structured, he stands in the pocket and throws it down to where he thinks the guy's going to be, and the guy's not there. That's a penalty, but then he throws one in the dirt, deliberately avoiding the sack, and that's not. I mean, we all see, and we know how we got to this point, but it makes no sense.
We're not going to convince Gus if that was a good call. So 3rd and 20 for Jacksonville. Just over 5 minutes remaining in the half. All Colts so far. Empty backfield. Saunders. And Sanders is driven back. Forward progress to the 16. Jacksonville will have to punt.
And that was kind of a, well, we may be able to get the first down, but at least we're not going to throw the interception or do something really bad. And that's, you know, they're still shaking their heads on the Jacksonville sideline about the first pass, you know, intentional grounding call, and that's what did it to him on that drive. That's unfortunate.
Anger standing near the goal line. Just got rid of it. This is a booming punt. Whalen makes the fair catch at the 34-35 yard line. 4:24 left to go in the half. 49-yard punt. Back at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts take over, 1st and 10 from their own 35, leading 17-3. Short drop for Luck. They run the slant to T.Y. Hilton, just behind him. And Steve, a look at Andrew Luck in his first 2 seasons in the league.
Well, he was such a huge hit in the draft when he came out and played every bit of that last year. And then look at the improvement from his first year when he was a hit to his second year now, where he's setting NFL records. I mean, he just continues to get better, and you know, you got to tip your hat to him.
And he has spread the ball around. 21 different receivers on passes this season. 6 different receivers today. Trent Richardson bobbles it but brings it in. And some nifty running out across the 40, close to the 41.
Well, he bobbled the ball, and it looked like it was going to cost him because, you know, that hesitation means the defense gets closer and closer to you. Then he made a couple of nice moves to get some positive yardage out of a play that looked like Jacksonville was going to be able to rally and stop. Turned into a nice 5-yard gain, but Trent Richardson bobbling that ball out of the backfield set him up for what looked like was going to be a problem, but made something out of it.
Richardson stays in the game. 3rd and 4. Luck tries to go to Richardson and finally sacked. And Jason Babin, former 1st-round pick by Houston, now has 7.5 sacks on the season.
Well, it's only a 4-man rush, and that's really what Jacksonville thrives on. That's their modus operandi. They will make it look like they're bringing 6 or 5, and then back 1 or 2 of them out, and only bring 4. Almost 70 or 80% of the time, they only rush 4, but you don't know which 4 it's going to be.
See the punting unit, feet, averaging 46 yards a punt coming in. Ace Sanders goes for the fair catch and makes it at the 22. 45-yard punt, no return. Well, this new year, get a little crazy with Robin Williams and the Crazy Ones. The new episode Thursday at 9, 8 Central, only CBS. That show was about guys who played on special teams at first.
Yeah, that's my show. We watched that.
Kept waiting for you to show up. It's just Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Huge imbalance in total yards. 204 for the Colts. First and 10, Henne. And is caught by Kerry Taylor. Signed last month from the Arizona practice squad. That's his career high with 4 catches for 45 yards last week against the Titans. 2nd and 4. Continues to run, just over 2.5 minutes remaining in the half. Henne again with time. Deep out route, incomplete, just down to the reach of Mercedes Lewis.
He runs the deep out, and this is why, you know, he's such an asset. I mean, tight ends who can run deep outs to the sideline and get open to separation against corners are rare.
He's had an outstanding December, 13 catches for 172 yards and 4 touchdowns. Trying to set a Jacksonville club record by catching a touchdown pass today for a 5th straight game. 3rd and 4. Sanders is the motion man. Colts showing blitz. Here they come off the edge. Henne, and that's caught at about the 40-yard line for a 1st down. Again, Kerry Taylor, a gain of 11.
Now the Colts were in man-to-man coverage all over the field. They had 1 deep safety. Every guy's got to beat his guy. Taylor does a nice job just spinning around to the inside on the hook, and Henny makes a great throw. I mean, that ball was right on the money, and Taylor would have had to work really hard not to catch it.
Right in front of Josh Gordon as Henny is forced to throw it away. That will take us to the 2-minute warning. Jacksonville looking for some points before halftime. They trail 17-3. 2nd and 10 for Jacksonville, trailing 17-3, 1:58 left to go in the half. Henny gets rid of it. Colts were coming on the blitz. Luis Jones-Drew jumped up for it. Was brought down hard. Landry put the hit on it.
They come up now that the Jacksonville Jaguars go no huddle. Chad Henne getting a chance to work that offense himself. A lot more freedom for the quarterback when they go no huddle, and a lot of guys really like it.
3rd and 3. Jacksonville down by 14. Swings it out to Mercedes Lewis, and he's got a Jacksonville first down into Colts territory. That was good for 8 yards, and Freeman tripped him up.
And Gus Bradley will take a timeout on his sideline. Yeah, a few plays ago, just before the 2-minute warning, you'll watch as Landry gets focused on this side of the field, but what happens is he forgets about Mercedes Lewis coming up here. Watch what happens as this play develops. Landry goes to his right to the sideline, and Mercedes Lewis right down the middle of the field, wide open. You can bet that the coaches upstairs for Jacksonville saw that, and at some point Mercedes Lewis is going to get a chance to reenact that route, hoping it comes open just as much. If they can get Chad Henne to pump fake out to the left of the offense and then to come back to Mercedes Lewis, it could turn into a big play later in this game.
Chad Henne has just gone over 3,000 yards for the season. First down at the Indianapolis 45. Henne, Luis Jones-Drew. Finally ridden down close to the 30. But another first down for Jacksonville, a gain of 14 yards. And Jarris Pendleton, originally a 7th-round pick by Jacksonville, signed to the Colts practice squad and brought up, made the stop. Jacksonville takes another timeout.
That play gets them inside field goal range. So it's important now they do come away with some sort of points. But at the same time, there's plenty of time. They've got a timeout left in 1:09 with a first down. There's no reason they can't run their offense and go down into the red zone and try and come away with a touchdown.
1:09 left to go in the half from the Colts 31. Todman in the backfield with Henne. Pump fake. And a miscommunication intercepted by the Colts. Antoine Bethea. And finally brought down at the 39-yard line.
It looked like Chad Henne, just as he released it, got his arm nicked right in the pocket, right at the point where he released it. Is exactly what we had just said that Jacksonville couldn't afford to do. And Maiola gets a piece of that. That ball flutters all the way out to Bethea and ends up in the big play for the Colts.
And a 46-yard return for the 2-time Pro Bowl safety.
Well, now with 3 timeouts, the Colts have, what for them is all the time they need.
53 seconds left to go in the half. Luck gets rid of it somehow, but Donald Brown will be stopped for a significant loss by J.T. Thomas, who is in the area, and that will lose 6 yards.
Yeah, Jacksonville anticipated this screen pass and shut it down really quickly. As you see there, Babin is in there, Branch is all over it, and the back Brown had some guys standing around him as well.
So it'll be 2nd and 16 coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights from this final week of the regular season. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. 43 seconds left to go in the half. Second turnover by the Jacksonville Jaguars as they were driving. Luck throws a strike down to the 35-yard line. T.Y. Hilton with another catch. Cyprian brought him down.
Now the Colts have the benefit of always working out of their no huddle when they feel like it, doing it a lot now. No problem for them to do it here when they really need to hurry.
9 catches for T.Y. Hilton for 95 yards. Luck steps into that one and another completion.
Oh, and he gets out of bounds. Great job by Brazil. It looked like he was going to get stopped in bounds, and he extends the football to the line. Right at the top of your screen, he's going to come right out. Watch as he gets tackled well in bounds. Watch the effort he makes to reach out before he goes down to a knee and put the ball on the line. Great job to extend that and fumbled it out of bounds. That's a great job.
Brazil's 12th catch of the season. That was good for 11 yards. Andrew Luck took a shot. 14 seconds left in the half. Luck on the move. That was batted away. Clock will stop with 9 seconds left to go in the second period.
It was Branch as well, chasing Luck. Luck, I don't know how those guys do it. Branch did an outstanding job because Andrew Luck is looking left, and then comes back and tries to throw it back inside. Branch gets his hand out to knock it down. Look, he's looking out to the line. Now he comes back very late, and Branch tips it.
He's really come alive with 5 sacks in the last 6 games for Jacksonville. 2nd and 10.
Ricky.
From the Jacksonville 23. Luck checks it down. Stanley Havili. And Havili's down inside the 10-yard line. And Colts will take a timeout with 2 seconds left.
And that's just the way you draw it up. You can't score a touchdown, get it down close in the middle of the football field and call a timeout with 2 seconds. Havili does a nice job making himself available. He knows the situation as well. No use to fight for extra yards if you're not going to get there. It's a chip shot anyway. And Andrew Luck was calling timeout before Havili was even on the ground.
15 yards on the catch and run. Luck to Havili. So we will see the field goal unit. Vinatieri already has one from 23 yards out. His 34th field goal of the season. As that takes us to halftime. All the Indianapolis Colts here in the first 2 quarters. As we've reached halftime, 20-6. Colts will be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message. And a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Ready to start the second half here in Indy, 20-3 Colts. Let's listen to some of the sounds of the first half. Andrew Luck taking a shot at the sideline. Football like you've never heard it, presented by Sonos. Bill McAtee back with Steve Tasker. A solid first half, Steve, from the Colts. 2 turnovers by Jacksonville, and Indianapolis has thrown it and run it effectively.
Well, they scored on 4 out of their first 6 possessions in this game. They have yet to take a penalty, and they just seem to be hitting on all cylinders, which is exactly what you would expect from a team headed to the playoffs. They also have not turned it over. If you look at the numbers, they will bear that out as this team, comes out in this second half. If this game gets a little further, if they put another touchdown on the board, you got to start thinking perhaps, as you look at the stats, rushing yards, and of course the passing yards for the Colts have been outstanding, and 16 first downs in 1 half alone is a lot. But you got to start thinking maybe Pagano would start to think about sitting Andrew Luck on the sidelines for a good portion of this second half. Chuck Pagano's got bigger fish to fry, even if they can't win this game. They're in the playoffs. They could get as high as the number 2 seed, and that would be a big deal. But they've got that guy, Matt Hasselbeck, there, and he's no stranger to big spots or coming into games either. So something to watch for.
Von Brazil will take a knee. Some of the injuries today. Fonte Davis out with a groin injury. Abreu Franklin with a knee injury, and Bjorn Werner an ankle.
Well, that's the one thing that, you know, a team like Indianapolis is really worried about. You want to come out here as healthy as you possibly can for next week's game, whether it be a wild card game or whether if you have the bye week as well. So either way, you need all your players healthy if you're getting to the playoffs, and losing them in the last game of the season, it's tough.
Colts have been perfect when leading at halftime this season. Donald Brown tries the right side, no running room. He may have lost a yard.
Kyle Love down inside. That one of the things that has been a problem is that middle of that defense, but they did a nice job there.
Clay Harbor was taken off on a cart in the first half with an ankle injury, so obviously tight end from Jacksonville will not return. That last tackle was by Sinderic Marks, one of those guys who has quietly had a very good season for Jacksonville and rewarded this past week with a big new contract. Second and 11 for the Colts. They lead 20-3. Jack Doyle, the tight end. Take a look at the Colts' first half possessions. Scored 2 quick touchdowns, then a field goal.
The thing that jumps out at you, they got over 30 yards on every drive except the one where they got -2 and ended in a punt. But for the most part, they're moving the football extremely well. Chuck Pagano, you've got to know that he's on the phone with his coaches, and at halftime they had to put their heads together and start to say, listen, here's what happens in the second half with our players. And I would be surprised if Indianapolis scores some points that Andrew Luck finishes this game.
3rd and 9, and movement before the snap.
Encroachment, number 99. The defense, 5-yard penalty, and remains 3rd down.
They call that on Sinderic Marks. The Colts have become really a more balanced offense this season, rushing for 1,663 yards through 15 games. That's the most they've had on the ground to this point in the season since 2005. And when we talked to Chuck Pagano and Andrew Luck earlier this season, they emphasized that despite their success throwing it, Colts are a team that wants and likes to run the football.
Well, it makes throwing the football that much easier, even though you don't throw it, you don't get all those yards and score those many points because you decide not to. It makes it easier and more efficient when you do.
3rd and a more manageable 4. T.Y. Hilton. And out of bounds in Jacksonville territory, down to the 33-yard line. Josh Evans finally made the stop.
Well, he had 9 catches for 95 yards in the first half, so you know Jacksonville defenders heard a lot about what they needed to do to him. Puslesny drops out past the slant route and misplays it on the quick slant. T.Y. Hilton comes underneath Puslesny, who actually picks off the slot defender and gives him a lot of room to run.
41 yards on the play, and T.Y. Hilton 10 catches for 136 yards. Brown. Close to the 25. Cyprian again made the stop. Spotted at the 26-yard line.
Now the offensive line comes out. Fleener's coming out, and they send in Xavier Nixon as an extra offensive lineman on a 2nd and 2. So Nixon way up here, an extra offensive lineman playing tight end.
So T.Y. Hilton over 1,000 yards, and you just can't overstate his value to this Colts offense since Reggie Wayne went down. Ground good penetration by Puslesny and the Jaguars up front. So he stopped at the line of scrimmage.
You spoke about Sinderic Marks signing a new contract, and that's really one of the overriding themes for this Jacksonville team. They've got to pick some guys they think they can go forward with. Puslesny's one of them. Sinderic Marks is one of them. We talked about Cyprian also in the first half as well, and there are others. But this is a team that is now finally starting to get their arrow pointed up. And Gus Bradley and Dave Caldwell still have some work to do, but they are in the right direction.
3 for Indianapolis. Luck somehow got it to Hilton. Up the sidelines and out of bounds inside the 10.
Hilton comes so flat across the line of scrimmage, he gets caught up in all the garbage of the big guys down inside and just gets lost down in there. He's going to come this direction. Watch how shallow he runs that route and then turns it upfield for the big gain.
Good for 19 yards. 11 catches for 155 for T.Y. Hilton. First and goal for the Colts. Opening possession of the second half. Luck, lots of time. Finally finds a man. Griff Whalen. Touchdown. And that was an impressive drive by the Colts.
Made all the more impressive by the first two plays from scrimmage not being all that effective. And they hung in there, converted that first third down, and then were off to the races. Luck with plenty of time, very comfortable in the pocket, well protected, and Griff Whalen catches the bullet thrown into traffic and gets across the line. Yeah, that was an impressive drive to start the second half.
Former Stanford teammates connecting. And Whalen again is a guy who really has emerged here in the final weeks of the regular season.
This play after a score is being reviewed, and we'll see if it's confirmed as they wait. And I think there's no question about the fact that it's going to be confirmed, and we'll go ahead and kick the extra point.
Again, Whalen is a guy who was waived twice this season, spent time on the practice squad, and now has really taken advantage of the opportunity and worked himself into the rotation on offense. Vinatieri to try the extra point and extend the Indianapolis lead. 10:39 left to go in the third. It's now 27-3 Colts. Andrew Luck to Griff Whalen for the touchdown. Griff Whalen with the 7-yard touchdown reception, capping a 7-play, 80-yard drive. McAfee kicks it away. Todman thought about bringing it out, but takes a knee. Around the league, Cincinnati now leading the Ravens 17-6. That's a game that the Colts are watching. The Bengals lose, could improve their seeding.
As that stands right there with Miami losing to the Jets and Baltimore losing to Cincinnati. If San Diego wins out on the West Coast against Kansas City, who is resting a lot of its people, San Diego sneaks in for the 6th spot in the playoffs in the AFC.
Pittsburgh hoping that they all lose so they can get to the postseason. Maurice Jones-Drew puts it back inside, lowers his shoulder, collides with Terrell Freeman, then pushed back. Forward progress nets about 3 or 4 yards.
It's always interesting to see teams come out after halftime, and here Jacksonville goes no huddle to hurry up. Both teams make adjustments, get a better idea of what their opponent's plan is against them, and tries to choose some plays that will take advantage of it.
It's coming the blitz. Henne trying to go back shoulder to Mike Brown, incomplete.
Henne had to throw that because he ended up on his back. He got a hit right in the face, but as we saw Maurice Jones-Drew on the first carry.
And he has been tough on the Indianapolis Colts. Came in averaging 101 yards a game in 14 games against Indianapolis. He had 177 against the Colts the last time these two teams played here in Indy. 61 total yards today, and Maurice Jones-Drew scheduled to become a free agent here at the end of the season, so perhaps playing his last game in a Jacksonville uniform, and the Jaguars will take a timeout with 10:05 left to go in the third. All Colts, 27-3. Colts dominating in time of possession, total yards, and on the scoreboard. Jacksonville facing 3rd and 7. Henne to the sideline, incomplete over the head of Ace Sanders. And we will see the Jacksonville punting unit. Good coverage out there by Darius Butler. Originally a second-round pick by New England back in 2009. Griff Whalen goes back, standing at the Colts 25-yard line, ready to return this Brian Anger punt. Fair catch. Called for and made by Whalen. Back at the 28-yard line, Andrew Luck ready to take the field once again after the 48-yard punt. T.Y. Hilton having a career day with 155 yards on 11 receptions, more alone than Jacksonville as a team has produced on offense.
You see there the throw from Luck in the first half, and then the second half they came out, hit him on a couple of short crossing routes, something obviously they saw at halftime and made the adjustment to. 2 passes in this half, both for 40 yards, actually 50 yards. So they found something that they liked in that shallow cross, trying to fill that guy's shoes, Reggie Wayne. And this team really misses that guy. Well, what team wouldn't?
Hey, double A.
So first and 10 for Indianapolis, leading 27-3. Trent Richardson tries to get to the edge, but cannot turn the corner. Reynolds made the stop, and once again, let's check in with JB and Shannon in New York for an update.
Dalton doesn't play for Baltimore, does he?
JB, he's doing everything he can to keep the Ravens in this ball game. Unfortunately, the Ravens offense won't participate because 3 INT have only led to 3 field goals for the Ravens. 17-9, Bengals on top.
Bill McAtee, Steve Tasker.
All right, guys, a Cincinnati loss means the Colts would be either the 2nd or 3rd seed in the playoffs. They can still achieve the 3rd seed if New England loses later today, regardless of what happens with Cincinnati and Baltimore, because Leslie made the stop on Trent Richardson.
Yeah, that play right there by Trent Richardson is, as you kind of let your mind wander around the National Football League to see who's going to land where. I think in the second half of this game, as we've said, I'm not all that surprised, I guess, that Andrew Luck is still out there with 8:51 in the 3rd. But I'm not surprised that they're handing it off to Trent Richardson a lot.
Richardson gets it again. Good penetration, swarming defense from Jacksonville. J.T. Thomas made the stop, and that'll bring up 4th down.
A 3rd and 5 with Andrew Luck and all the weapons they have and the offense that they've been running, and they hand it off to Trent Richardson on that play, and that I think we're starting to see some signs that the Colts are thinking about something other than winning this game and putting their foot on the gas. I mean, that was a really conservative play call on the 3rd and 5 for this team.
McAfee ready to punt it away on 4th and 3. Gets that one away, and this is a booming punt. Ace Sanders watches it go just into the end zone and out of bounds.
Wow.
That was awfully close. A 65-yard punt from McAfee. Unfortunately, he wanted 64.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T-Mobile. Unleash. And by USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of current and former military members and their families.
Back in Indianapolis, midway through the 3rd quarter. Jacksonville from the 20. Henne as he let it go, but still caught by Mike Brown. Well, Brad Meester, great center for the Jaguars, playing in his final game of his NFL career after making his 209th start today. 36 years old in his 14th season with Jacksonville. Maurice Jones-Drew cutting it back.
There he is.
Brad Meester, they even had a play designed for him last week where he caught a pass and was able to bring it in, ran into his own offensive lineman, as any self-respecting lineman would, but picked up 9 yards.
Guy's been there, has 6 daughters, the oldest of which is closer in age to his rookie teammates than his rookie teammates are to him. So
2nd and 9.
he's been around a while.
Colts coming to blitz. Henne lost it out there, and that is caught again by Brown. former college quarterback at Liberty. Let's go back to last Sunday, Easter Sunday. There you go. Well, I could smell the goal line. And that was a great way to sort of say goodbye in his final home game in Jacksonville.
Well, guys like Brad Meester are a rare breed. One career reception, 9 yards, 5 yards after contact.
Play action. Trying to get it out to Ace Sanders, and that was a little out of rhythm from the beginning. Ace Sanders has had a solid rookie season, second on the team in receptions, coming in with 45 catches for 434 yards. And of course, with Justin Blackmon suspended, Cecil Shorts on IR, he's a guy that they've wanted and needed to step up, and he's done that. 101st overall pick after an outstanding college career at South Carolina. Jones-Drew, forward progress to the 45. Josh Chapman was the first man there. 5th round pick last year out of the University of Alabama, and he is a big man.
He is a quintessential nose guard, defensive tackle in the NFL.
Can eat some space. 3rd and 9 for the Jaguars. Down by 24.
Obviously eats more than space.
Colts showing blitz, and here they come. Henny to Maurice Jones-Drew. He's going to be short of the first down. Mathis brought him down.
How about that? Robert Mathis dropping base. Got 17 and a half sacks on the season. He's dropping into pass coverage and making a tackle short of the first down. That's one of the things that these teams do. And Greg Minuski, the defensive coordinator for the Colts, I mean, this guy right here turns and runs and ends up making the tackle.
And that was very different. He had to adjust last year with this new defensive system. He said, I'm not used to going backward. I'm only used to going forward, but he's made the adjustment well. And here's Jacksonville on 4th and 1. Over the head of Ace Sanders, and it will go over on downs.
The throw was high. It had to come out really fast. It came out quick, and it just throws it too high.
It will be Colts ball when we return. They lead it 27-3. After the stop on 4th down, the Colts take over 1st and 10 from their own 38-yard line. Keep it on the ground with the left tackle. Donald Brown. Avery Jones made the stop, and Andrew Luck about ready to join Ben Roethlisberger with 22 wins in his first 2 seasons in the league. Just passing our buddy Dan Marino. Russell Wilson leads in that category. 2nd and 8 for Indianapolis. All Colts today. Brown finds a seam. Gets it out across the 45 to the 46.
And I think it's a smart philosophical change for the Colts. They want to get out of this game with the win and being healthy, particularly that guy right there, Andrew Luck. And they want this game to get over. They're going to run the football. I wouldn't be surprised if they hand it off once again here on 3rd down. And you don't have to watch very much of the Colts offense throughout the season to know that's something they don't do very much.
Richardson has checked in. Short drop for Luck, and that is caught by Griff Whalen. And he will have a 1st down for the Colts into Jacksonville territory.
Well, that's the idea. Go ahead. That's the idea. Andrew Luck drops back, gets rid of it on time, somebody goes just past the sticks, and that's what the play is designed to do. If it was 3rd and 3, they go to 3rd and 5. They run 5 yards. If it's 3rd and 6, they run to 7 yards. If it's 3rd and 2, like it was there, they just go 4 yards and they get the first down. And whatever the play is, wherever the sticks are, the receivers go just beyond it.
51.
4th catch of the game for Whalen for 32 yards. First and 10 for Indianapolis. Donald Brown. Colts, of course, losing key playmakers like Reggie Wayne and Dwayne Allen. Really had to come up, Steve, with almost a new identity on offense, especially on 3rd down and in the red zone. But they've seen guys like T.Y. Hilton, Donald Brown, Griff Whalen, Kobe Fleener step up, and they have definitely found a rhythm here heading into the postseason.
Well, there's no question that they hit kind of a sinking spell just after Reggie Wayne went away. They won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1. In fact, you come to this game, the Colts have won 4 out of their last 7, and so have the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Brown back to the line of scrimmage. Colts have placed 15 players on IR this season. That leads the league, and now the Ravens have come back and tied Cincinnati. And again, if the Ravens are able to win that ball game, that means that the Colts, if they go on to win here, will be seated either 2nd or 3rd.
Well, Andy Dalton throwing 3 interceptions in that game already.
3rd and 8. Luck checks it down. Stanley Havili, and he is dropped almost immediately by Mike Harris. So that will bring out the punting unit. Mentioned the Colts have placed 15 players on IR this season, leading the league. As they lost Reggie Wayne in that win over Denver in October with the torn ACL. Reggie Wayne, 34 years old, he was having another outstanding season with 38 catches with just over 500 yards in 7 games. And in the end of the 3rd quarter, if you're taking a little more time off the clock, end over in punt. Sanders makes the fair catch at the 10. Well, Tuesday, CBS Sports jumps into bowl season when Logan Thomas and the Virginia Tech Hokies tangle with Pac-12 Freshman of the Year Miles Jack and the UCLA Bruins. It's the Sun Bowl from El Paso, Texas, Tuesday here on CBS. 41 seconds left to go in the 3rd. Comfortable Colts advantage, 27-3. Deep out route intended for Lamar Thomas, and that was slightly underthrown. Lamar Thomas made his first NFL regular season catch last week against Tennessee after being brought up from the practice squad. Free agent rookie out of the University of New Mexico, and Gus Bradley, along with Dave Caldwell, who spent 10 years here in Indianapolis, will have a lot to think about over the next few months. Came into this game with the number 3 slot in the draft. That's caught by Thomas on a nice gain for a first down out close to the 30. Pickup of 17 yards. Cassius Vaughn made the stop.
That was a great route running against Vaughn. Took his time, very patient. That's one of the things, they time these guys in 40s all the time. Some of the times it's not the fast guys that get open, it's the guys that are patient and can take the time to work the route.
Maurice Jones-Drew with his 11th carry of the game as we have reached the end of the 3rd quarter. We'll return to Indianapolis after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts, quarter away from another 11-win season. Should give them 11 wins for the 9th time in 11 years. Henning at 2nd and 7. Nowhere to go and sacked. Jarrell Freeman having another outstanding game. Initial pressure came from Mathis. There you see pushed away. But he was in the backfield in a hurry.
Yeah, there was some question as to how many sacks Mathis had coming into this game. He ended last week with 16 and a half and had it raised because they said he had a strip sack fumble, which they thought was an intercepted pass, but they gave him the fumble and changed all that around. So Jarrell Freeman went from 2 interceptions to 1 interception last week.
3rd and 12. Henny throws a strike, but it's going to be short of a first down. Now to Kerry Taylor.
Yeah, New Jacksonville will not punt this away. They'll go for it on 4th down. And why not?
5 catches for Taylor for 51 yards. Giving Jacksonville a manageable 4th down. They trail by 24.
9 guys in the box.
Give it to Maurice Jones-Drew. Pushes the pile forward, and that was a nice effort by the 3-time Pro Bowler to move the chains.
Well, he told us, we asked him if he'd thought about it being his last game. He said, it's true, it might be my last game. He said, one other thing that is typical of Maurice Jones-Drew, he said, it won't affect the way I play. And that guy has been a full-effort guy every time he stepped on the field during his career for Jaguars.
Henny under pressure and sacked. Robert Mathis. What a year he's had. And even his quarterback likes it. 2nd and 19.
Well, he's just going to work out on the up and under, and he knows it. I mean, when you get it going on, you have those years where that puts him in the NFL lead for sacks for the regular season this year.
Most of his career by a large margin. Henny on 2nd and 19 with time. Incomplete. Again, just out of the reach of Ace Sanders. That'll bring up 3rd and long.
19, let me tell you, you get to around the 20 sack spot in the NFL, that is enormous. That is a great, great season. And that's a fantastic effort by Robert Mathis, not only today, but throughout the season, and his team has really, really benefited from it, and probably will continue to as the postseason begins.
Only 2.5, by the way, is the record by Memphis Graham to slant Ace Sanders, but this is going to be well short of the first down. Now to the 42. That was good for 10 yards, and we will see the Jacksonville punting unit.
And that's what sacks do for you. Even a team that's in 4-down territory, kind of going for it on 4th and reasonable, you put a sack on them, and then that takes them out of their ability to even do that. Now Jacksonville forced to punt it away on a 4th and 9.
Standing back deep at the Indianapolis 15. And there's a flag down. The ball rolls down. Touched at about the 6 or 7 yard line.
Sort this out.
Interference with the opportunity to make a fair catch. Number 30 of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, and timeout.
They call that on Jordan Todman. And Andrew Luck will stay on the sideline. We will see Matt Hasselbeck for the Colts with 11:49 left to go in the 4th. Matt Hasselbeck takes over the Colts offense with just under 12 minutes remaining in the 4th. Bootleg. And that is caught. Derrick Rogers. And that will draw a flag. Hit when he was already out of bounds.
Yeah. He took a good shot as he spun out of this catch. Great throw by
Personal foul,
Hasselbeck.
necessary roughness, late hit, number 27, defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, he hit him 4 yards after he was already out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds as he spun out, and that they called that. I don't know. You don't want him to hit him late. Don't even blow the whistle. I mean, they didn't blow the whistle. The guy was still running up the sidelines. What do you expect a defender to do?
Called that on Winston Guy. They moved the chains and spotted at the Jacksonville 39. That's pass that Hasselbeck has thrown this season for the Indianapolis Colts. And his 5th completion.
Hey, long, Mike 51. Number 15.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Yeah, Hasselbeck patting himself on the chest saying, that's my bad. It's nice to have a backup quarterback who's thrown for 34,000 yards in the league and has been to a Super Bowl as a starter.
In his 15th year out of Boston College, came in from Tennessee after those 10 years in Seattle to back up Andrew Luck. 1st and 15. Clock running, just under 11 minutes to go in the 4th. And that's a nice pass. Caught at the 35-yard line again by Derrick Rogers, who led the SEC in receiving as a sophomore before transferring to Tennessee Tech. And other scores from around the league. Baltimore and Cincinnati still tied. The Jets on top of Miami, and Pittsburgh shutting out Cleveland.
Yeah, that Baltimore-Cincinnati game is crucial for a lot of teams that are below them in the standings. Pittsburgh, San Diego, and Miami.
2nd and 5, and they're giving Hasselbeck a chance to run this Indianapolis offense. Shovel pass. And that was to Tashard Choice, the running back, who came in with just 6 carries for 26 yards. And he's seeing some action as well.
Now here's what the Colts have on their mind. They've got to win, no question about it. But they could go as high as the 2 seed if Cincinnati loses, and if Buffalo can go into Foxborough and beat New England, all of a sudden the Colts are the number 2 seed and get a week off. That's big.
But a loss by either the Patriots or the Bengals, and the Colts will be seated 3rd. Choice tries to cut it back. Picks up maybe a yard. Kyle Love made the stop. He was just signed this week. He was with Jacksonville until the final cuts in the preseason. Played a couple of weeks with Kansas City. Now back with the Jaguars to close out the regular season.
The Jaguars had to do some things to strengthen their defense down the middle here to finish the season. There you see T.Y. Hilton, who finishes the day with 11 catches for 155 yards. This is a career high. Great headed into the playoffs for that.
Hey, kill.
2nd and 10. Matt Hasselbeck at quarterback for the Colts. Seam, and that is incomplete.
Griff Whalen didn't want any part of that pass.
There were about 3 guys who had a bead on Griff Whalen.
It's easy to cast aspersions on receivers who don't give a full effort to catch the ball, but you can understand what he was thinking right there. Cyprian's collapsing on him. Reynolds is chasing him, and Puslesny's coming from the inside. I think I would pull the ripcord as well.
Griff Whalen in the 2nd year out of Stanford, where he played with Andrew Luck. So the Bengals now have regained the lead, 24-17 over the Ravens. Just underway in the 4th. The delay to Choice with some running room. Wrapped up 2 yards short of the first down by Puslesny.
And that'll bring Adam Vinatieri onto the field to add to the lead and to finish off another Colt possession here with some points.
Vinatieri already with 2 field goals today, 23 and 26 yards. Trying to extend his career best with a 35th field goal this season. Turned 42 yesterday, one of the NFL's all-time best. And good. The Colts extend their lead, 30-3, 8 minutes remaining in the 4th. Andrew Luck on the sideline for that last series, resulting in a 3rd Adam Vinatieri field goal. Puts it away midway through the fourth. Todman brings it out. Submarines out to the 17. 7:53 left to go in the fourth now. Jacksonville ball when we come back. 2 sacks today for that man. 19.5 on the season. Leading a Colts defense that has allowed just 13 points in the last 11.5 quarters. Maurice Jones-Drew on first down. Chapman clogging things up there in the middle.
You talk about defenses, and we talk to defenders every week about what's going on. But one thing, they don't talk about interceptions so much. They don't talk about turnovers. They talk about points given up. They are really, really attuned to that being the key stat, and obviously it is, and that's the only one they really care about.
Henny swings it out to Mercedes Lewis, who has some running room. The big man motoring up the sideline and finally brought down in Colts territory by LaRon Landry after a gain of 36 yards.
Well, it's kind of just making yourself available. That's what he's supposed to do. Look like he's going to stay in to protect and then turn out, and the Colts absolutely forget about him. And he turns it into a big gain. The former Pro Bowler.
All the way down to the 44-yard line. Henny. Screen out to Ace Sanders. Sanders dropped just short of the 40. Josh McNary, the free agent rookie out of Army, made the stop. He's quite a story. Finished his 2-year military commitment down in Texas at Fort Hood and signed with the Colts. All of a sudden, he's been playing a lot. Todman was the right side and no running room. Continues to run nearing the 6-minute mark.
And the Jaguars continue to kind of muddle huddle as Mathis comes back on to the field on a 3rd down, a 3rd and 6. Chuck Pagano giving him a chance. Go for it. Why not?
Very short of the league record for sacks. Henny lofts it out. Almost picked off by Darius Butler.
Darius Butler didn't know the football was coming, and it hit him right in the head. This play was defended. Look, he just got his head around and couldn't even get his hands up in time to keep it from hitting him in the face mask.
So that'll bring up 4th down for Jacksonville. 5.5 minutes remaining. Henny steps up, delivers it out to Maurice Jones-Drew, and he's got a 1st down. Maurice Jones-Drew, scheduled to become a free agent. Says he wants to stay in Jacksonville. The Jaguars have said they want to keep him. It's just a matter of whether or not they can come to terms on a contract. He has been face of this franchise at times 70% of their offense. And teams with Jacksonville that weren't very good. That's playing his final game in the Jacksonville Jaguars uniform. Finally connects with Sanders, but he's wrapped up immediately by Butler.
You talk about the things, and it was well publicized when he had his contract dispute with the Jaguars, but even then he handled that as well as you can handle it. There's going to be disagreements when you got a guy who looks out there and says, I should be getting a certain number, and the club just says, well, we can't give it to you.
Henny connects out there with Kerry Taylor. Lost the football, but the whistle had already sounded.
But even in the midst of those Jones-Drew contract disputes, he never, there was never any animosity. We asked him when he finally came into training camp about the whole, he says, I just felt I had to do it. There was no animosity. He didn't hold a grudge against the franchise. He wasn't bitter about it, and handled it as well as he could have. And he's done every aspect of his career has been handled like that, and I really have to tip my hat to how he's done that throughout his career.
Led the league in rushing, Steve, just 2 years ago. Center of the field. And that's caught for a gain of a yard or so by Danny Noble, the backup tight end. And that'll bring up 4th down.
Well, they're gonna stay on the field offensively. Chad Henne's gonna have to try and convert this 4th down, and yet again here in the 4th quarter, Gus Bradley, I think at this point, this is all about evaluation. This is a little bit like the preseason. He wants to see something from certain players. He wants to see them in situations. And again, he's just trying to have his offense score some points.
Colts coming the blitz. Henne going deep. Noble incomplete, in and out of his hands.
And he knows it. He should have caught that ball. He ran a great route, got great separation, just couldn't pull it in, and that is a little bit of the story of the season.
Ball goes over on downs to the Indianapolis Colts. Just under 3 minutes remaining in the 4th. Matt Hasselbeck remains at quarterback, and flags.
Offense, 5-yard penalty remains, 1st down.
Flags before the snap. Sherless called for the infraction. Look at the draft order. Jacksonville came in the number 3 spot. Of course, St. Louis will have
Washington's pick, yeah.
Redskins pick at number 2. Be interesting to see what direction the Jaguars go. 1st and 15. And those who believe, of course, that they've got to get themselves a franchise quarterback to build on. Blaine Gabbert is not the answer. Losing his starting job to Henne. Cyprian made the stop on choice.
We spoke about it early in the game about Chad Henne, and both you and I think long-term, maybe not, but certainly he has done a good enough job in relief of Blaine Gabbert to warrant him being around to groom a younger player, so you don't have to draft somebody. You can draft somebody in the first 3 rounds rather than the first pick of the draft. And if you always feel the pressure, if you pick the guy with your first pick at the number 3 spot overall, you feel like you got to throw him in there right away. If you pick him in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe not.
2nd and 11. Choice. That should take us down to the 2-minute warning. Ryan Davis made the tackle.
Jacksonville seems to took a timeout.
Clock stops with 2:13 left to go, and some of the names that will be topics of discussion. Derek Carr has completed his senior year at Fresno State. Teddy Bridgewater looked great last night, leading Louisville over Miami. Bortles is almost a local guy out of Central Florida, and perhaps Johnny Football out of Texas A&M, depending on what he does. Or do you address other needs? Maybe bring in a young quarterback, see what he can do for a year, mentored by Chad Henne, and get yourself a quarterback next year. A lot of decisions still to be made. Comes back to choice on 3rd and 8. And that will bring out the Colts punting unit.
One of the things you talk about when guys bringing guys in, it's how much of a mentor could Chad Henne be? And I think it's a good question.
2 minutes to go. Pat McAfee on to punt on 4th and 5. 30-3 Indianapolis. It has been another dominating performance.
Wow, that's a rocket.
And Ace Sanders steps out of bounds at the 9. So a 58-yard punt and no return. Coming up, we'll have bonus coverage. Jets on top of Miami, 17-7. Baltimore loses to Cincinnati. That means that there's a huge opening for the San Diego Chargers to sneak into the postseason.
Well, they got to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who are the number 5 seed in the AFC, but have one of the best records in the conference. But because they're in the same division as Denver, they're relegated to a wild card. But also, they cannot improve or lose ground in their seeding in the playoffs, so they may sit a lot of their players. Kansas City may not be playing full strength in San Diego.
And he tries to Lofted out to Mercedes Lewis, incomplete. Our final game together, and I want to say thank you for another terrific season. Mr. 7-time Pro Bowl participant.
It has been a lot of fun this season. We've done a number of Jacksonville games, and it's been fun to watch them get better and better, although today they're on the very short end of the stick. There have been times when you could see the light at the end of the tunnel for Gus Bradley and the crew.
We've done enough Jacksonville games that I understand you had Gus Bradley as your Secret Santa this year. Kerry Taylor
should start donating my retirement plan with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
There's our guys up here, Brett Bender and Joe Night Train Sullivan. Spectacular all season long. That's incomplete. Down in the truck, of course, Vic Frank, our producer. Director Chris Fenson. Boss back in New York, Sean McManus. Great team. Harold Bryant, Steve Karasik, Drew Kaliski in the pregame show with Tyler Hale. Monty Morales, our associate director. Josh Weingart. Nick Murrow is our technical director. There's our technical manager. The technical director is Ed Collins. That's caught by Sanders, who dropped immediately by LaRon Landry, but that's going to be a first down. Peter Adams is our audio supervisor. He always does a tremendous job. Winding down a great season, and the Indianapolis Colts doing the same. Another 11-win regular season and a lot of momentum heading into the postseason. Henny finally forced to get rid of it. Underthrows Ace Sanders. Clock stops, 59 seconds left to go. Another look at the playoff picture. Kansas City locked in at the number 5 seed. Of course, a chance for Indianapolis. If either Cincinnati or New England loses today, they'll be the number 3 seed.
Yeah, they're temporarily ahead of Cincinnati because we're giving them their win here. If Cincinnati hangs on to that 10-point lead against Baltimore, they will reverse order right there.
Todd steps out of bounds and a first down. 52 seconds remaining. Jacksonville, because of the Eugene Monroe trade to the Ravens earlier this season, they're actually lined up to have a pretty good draft. They've got 10 draft picks and a ton of cap room. So it's going to be a busy offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Henny, nice grab by Lewis. And he is into Indianapolis territory down to the 35. 26 yards on the catch by Lewis. 3 catches today for 70 yards from Mercedes Lewis. Inside of 30 seconds remaining. Ace Sanders with some running room. And steps out of bounds at the 14. 21 yards.
That's one thing as you see these Jacksonville Jaguar teams, they have really continued to fight hard for their head coach Gus Bradley. I mean, the one thing that they have said from the week 1 until now when we've covered them, these Jacksonville guys have really enjoyed being a part of his team. Gus Bradley has been a positive influence, and it has not stopped from beginning to end.
And a touchdown to Kerry Taylor. 14 yards. And the Jaguars finally get into the end zone.
Well, he goes in and then moves out to the inside edge of the numbers. Good throw by Henny. And you can see, and there's no question the Colts have kind of let their foot off the gas defensively and emotionally, and that's the balance in the NFL. If you do that for a moment, the Jacksonville Jaguars will go the distance of the field and score on you.
Scored with the extra point, 16 seconds left. 30-10. Andrew Luck will get ready for the postseason.
It looks as though Cincinnati is going to fight off the Baltimore rush, overcoming 3 Andy Dalton interceptions to continue to beat the Ravens. And that means the Colts will probably not move up in the standings. They definitely won't move up in the standings if those results stand.
They will have a chance to move up to the number 3 seed if New England wins later today. But right now they are 4th and will play Kansas City here next week. Brad Meester.
Jed Fish thanking his offensive center, offensive coordinator, talking to a guy that is crucial to any offensive success, and this guy's been doing it for a long, long time.
36 years old, calling it a career after 14 seasons.
It's good that he gets to say when he gets to leave, and that he took the opportunity to say, you know what, I've had enough. And what remains for Maurice Jones-Drew, we'll all have to wait and find out. Certainly he's got some good football left in him. Whether it's in Jacksonville or somewhere else around the National Football League, we'll have to wait and see.
It's been a great career. Played for all 5 head coaches in Jacksonville franchise history.
Like I said earlier, guys who can do that at that position, they're a rare breed. Is a lot to be proud of.
Hands team is out there. The 1 deep man for the Colts. Scobie boots it out of the end zone. So they will bring it out to the 20. 16 seconds still remaining.
You can see there it's kind of all starting to catch up with him. Those quiet moments, you realize that what a great job it is. Forget the wins, forget the losses. The things you remember are the guys like that, the guys that hug you when you still come back 5 or 6 or 10 years later. They're still with the organization, and they're happy to see you. And congratulations to him.
And congratulations to the Indianapolis Colts, who will head into the postseason on a 3-game winning streak. They will close out the regular season with a record of 11-5. They win it 30-10 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. So for Steve Tasker, this is Bill McAtee saying so long from Indianapolis. Colts getting ready for the postseason. And what about the future for Maurice Jones-Drew? Coming up, the NFL Today update presented by Aflac. We'll take you to New York for all the scores and highlights after this. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.